ourselves. We understand how we do things. Kenya has shown the way. We have led yet again. Let us copy paste this into the Nigerian election. So I think it is important because we lead, we put ourselves out there. We have moved now. We're not like our peers. We're not in terms of economics. We are now middle income. We are ahead of our peers, So as we continue to try and take lead in every sphere, be it politically, economically, socially, it is important that we are ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And looking at President Uhuru Kenyatta, I mean, he leaves, a huge space, and the whoever will come in and fit into that position will certainly need to master how President Uhuru Kenyatta has managed to engage himself and Kenya in this region. You can say President Uhuru has been quite, a master of soft power, and his popularity, I have had him, called that, master of soft power. His popularity certainly
with our neighbors.
Not
internally.
Well, I'm talking about in this East African community. He's tried, in his second term, especially in his trying to build relationships among the countries around, Kenya. Looking at that, is a person who's going to fit into these shoes able to continue with that legacy?
The reason why I laughed when you said
a master of soft power.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has been a master of soft power. I wasn't so sure until you clarified that it's with our neighbors, because internally,
right?
President Uhuru is this particular parent who's very hard on his kids, but very soft on the neighborhood kids. The neighborhood kids would actually call him a king, a good man, but at home, is actually a very hard one on his own children.
But to be fair, but you do agree that at a time where there was no semblance of integration within the East African community, and it appeared that things were collapsing at that point, it was him who, after all these years of squabbles, sort of brought those partners together.
Yeah, that's no lie. He actually has worked very well at international level. You remember at some point he actually was even appointed the global champion for youth,
right?
And even at the African level, I think he was chairing something to do with the youth. If there's anything the president, I know this is not the time to actually talk about his scorecard,
right?
But I know that one of those things, because I have worked with and for young people for most of my adult life. And I would actually tell you that if there's anything that he left unattended was the youth work. The way he dealt with the youth issue for the last 10 years, he just dropped. Even Kibaki, a much older man than him, did much for the youth of this country than him. I would actually go into details and justify that. That one is actually on my head because I've been in that sector for the last 15 years. But that said, at international level, he's worked very well at EAC. Even if some neighbors sometimes behaved, really had bad manners, he had the calmness of mind to reach out to a phone and call them. He's tried to actually ensure that some of those applications to join EAC that were pending, he really pushed that we bring them on board. At the continental level, he actually is a very cool guy. Very, very cool guy. As in, on the continental level, these guys are missing out a cool kid. Who go out there, knows how to engage those guys very, very well. Let's also remember that he started off bullishly, especially with the international world, the community, especially with the ICC at that particular time when they came in at first. Once he actually ensured that ICC was no longer an issue, he actually then changed tact. That our foreign affairs docket has actually been a very good tip of the spear on how we've actually engaged. For us, I think the biggest army we have as a country is foreign affairs. Our relations, that is how we know how to fight our battles, whether it is territorial, whether it is trade, whether it is just our place among the League of Nations. Our foreign affairs is one of those dockets that is uncelebrated, yet that is the bulldozer of how we engage with our neighbors. So on that, the president gets it well. Is anyone else really going to fit into?
Are they able to cut out?
It's easy. We actually have got one of the best foreign affairs teams. The foreign affairs ministry has got some of the sharpest minds you can actually find, not just on the continent, but globally. That you can actually just check and see. how we actually rated, from the current PAs to the former minister. We have got the minister for sports currently, who is a very good diplomat. That we've done very well. That's how we actually have managed. For example, the United Nations office in Nairobi, for example, is the continental headquarters for Africa. Habitat, UN Habitat, is actually the global headquarters for that particular agency. So we've managed to keep some of these agencies locally here, and literally everybody coming to Nairobi and putting up a small headquarters and then running to do production elsewhere, because now industrial-wise, then when it comes to industrialization, then we've lost out to other neighbors because the cost of production around here has actually gone higher. So you bring a continental headquarters office in Upper Hill, but the factory is in Addis, probably in Dodoma or in Uganda, but then the real office, the headquarters, is actually in Nairobi, just with 4 people. So we lose out on the other things on that particular end. The president didn't have so big shoes that no one can fit. That's what I'm trying to say. That the Ministry of Foreign Affairs...
But at the end of it all, the winner doesn't have a choice. He must continue at least what the region expects, and some sort of continuity and stability.
The technocrats in foreign affairs actually know how to do their work. But most times, those are the people who literally prime the guy who comes to office. This is how we relate with these guys. This is our experience. This is what we know. And this is how we move on. So I don't think anyone will struggle to fill into that, especially if our focus is about charming, to charm our neighbors and everything else. I don't know. But if whoever comes in is actually interested in just working on local issues, again, we might not need that so much. But the truth is that since we do a lot of exporting, and our influence around our neighbors is just about how we actually get to move by, I think it's necessary. Also, don't think that there's anything he's done miraculously beyond what Kibaki did.
Ache, do you think Uhuru Kenyatta has, aside from, there's a lot of, like we said, the country has a deficiency of trust generally, and it's also there's a significant of it that is in the government and the systems. But when we just look at it from through an objective lens, what do you feel that Uhuru Kenyatta has done for this country that by the time he's handing over to either of the 2 gentlemen who's going to be announced anytime now, ideally, what do you think will be some of the things that an objective eye would say this is a solid thing he did for Kenya?
I think one would be infrastructural development, which we have seen. He took it from Kibaki and ran with it. And I think that's something we will forever remember him for. And what I love best about the expressway, for example, is not just the road itself, but what it does to the mind of Kenyans. We never imagined it possible. We never imagined a road would actually be run over the other if you have not been out of this country. It never seemed possible. And so anytime you get into an argument, a discussion, the line Key Expressway, sneaks into a conversation. So it's opened us up to possibilities. And now when we are exposed to ordinary things, we want to look for an expressway kind of way of doing things. And I think for me, that's something we might not talk about much, but for me, it is really a big thing because now we are now open-minded. The Masai say, macho ya kufunguka haifunguki. I don't know if it is.
I have to confirm that.
Once you have seen, you cannot unsee,
Right.
When maybe learning, you can unlearn. But once you've seen, you cannot unsee.
Right.
I think that's a big plus for him. He tried in the foreign affairs, like you said, working with our neighbors. Of course, forever, every time we talk about DRC and the East African community, it will always go with Uhuru's name. So that he takes. And the same way the efforts around Sudan always go with Kalonzo's name. So this he takes. But in terms of bringing us together and nationhood, I think he really tried this, but may not have succeeded. But I think there was a lot of good effort towards it. I remember in his first term, he didn't visit Kisumu, for example. But in his second term with the handshake, it became a possibility, and he demystified how the Luo community looks at and experiences the Kikuyu community. He humanized Kikuyus, in the eyes of the Luos. We no longer look at them with the stereotypes that we have grown up with as a community. And I think for me, that's a beautiful thing, because now we know you can actually work with them. He has bridged the gap in terms of bringing us together, in terms of building the nation.
All right.
Perhaps it would have, if he had gone with his BBI initiative, perhaps then he would have succeeded in that also. But he has made strides towards that. And in terms of building trust, at least he has moved the Luo community closer in terms of trust when it comes to the Kikuyu community.
Right. Well, now, just maybe in a couple of minutes, we will be able to have, some sort of way and get to know how this country will be headed in terms of whether we're getting a new leader. But of course, is most likely what will happen. And as this new leader suddenly prepares to assume office, there will be things that will be demanded from him. And one of the most essential issues that we're looking at, of course, is dealing with the domestic challenges, even away from the demands of the region. And East Africa will be what is happening in the country, such as the issue of cushioning the Kenyans from the economic crisis that is facing us. Arnold, I mean, we've seen from at least majority of the presidential candidates putting this as their first endeavor once they do assume office, whichever way this goes. Suddenly, this is an important issue.
Well, we have to start from Article 10 of the Constitution, as whatever party, independent, whatever party or coalition you are in. But once you win, you must then become the president of the Republic of Kenya. Secondly, you must then find ways of bringing those who lost to closer, to actually feel like they actually belong. It's important being anonymous and reaching out. And then this 100 days line is very common. In 100 days we will do this. In 100 days we will do this. The challenge has been that
but it's never consecutive. They say the 100 days is not necessarily consecutive.
because it's one thing to actually put out what you want to do in 100 days. But the government being a bureaucracy, you realize that absorbing money as little as 100 million shillings can actually be very, very complex. You might not be able to even procure a small cup like this one if you don't do it in 2 weeks' time, for example. So there's so many things they promise and say they'll actually give us and rather put out, but before then they get in, it's quite difficult. But then the other thing that I actually find that will be much easier for a government that is coming in is that we are now in a new financial year. The exchequer has not been released yet. At least the money normally comes around September 15th for the new financial year. So at least when these guys come in, it will not be so difficult for them to actually hit the ground running, because even the budget cycle and how the exchequer flows, they actually are coming into the office at a very good time when there's float, there's liquidity, and they can actually like spend money, break a few things here and there. But over and above, they can't do anything they want because we have got a budget. Everything they do must actually be regularized and fit into the budget as has actually been put out there.
So I think it's important to bring to light, actually just to pick up from what Arnold has mentioned, which is important, that during the campaigns, etc., you're leading these millions of people who are behind you. The tallies will show. But especially in such a close race, where we are almost split in half in regards to, Kenyans are almost split in half in regards to who they support. Excuse me, at this point, between William Ruto and Raila Odinga, one may win, ideally one will win, but that does, that what Arnold is saying, we need to ensure that Kenya, after the announcement, is one, so that this person, like Uhuru Kenyatta, was not now the president of Jubilee. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Right.
So I'd be interested to hear what needs to be done to ensure that we have that kind of an accommodating environment in the country, because some may see a celebration here, it may irk them, but the ones who have been declared the winners will feel it's our right to celebrate. So what needs to be done to ensure that we have that balance, so that this country we have been working hard to build, we don't undo it because, after this is done, tomorrow,
circulating on social media this morning about it's an nilotic affair. One nilot is going to carry the day today. And it's interesting how you
guys really
cling until you look for something.
To be very good to
cling on.
Wajackoyah is in the race. Guy speak and he said either of the two.
No, we're going by numbers. Numbers don't lie.
Yes.
But Wajackoyah has faith.
Yeah, and he
Faith also
said
counts for something.
he said he would
He's in the
win.
race, I
Yeah, he said he would win. Nonetheless, first is the I don't know if it was yesterday you were asking me if we were to have a Raila presidency, what would be in it for me as an individual?
Yes.
What would be in it for all his supporters, those who supported him? But it is the thing about you feel our own has it, And I think anywhere, any appointment that we have, we judge things, by the second name. So I think it would be important to live up to the spirit of the Constitution and show in his appointments have a face of Kenya, so that when you look at what he's doing, you don't judge him too harshly. You can see your own there, and you can see he's trying to reach out to you. The other thing that happened, I think, in the first term of Jubilee, I don't know if this also has changed, but was that funding to counties that were not pro-Jubilee. There was a problem with their funding, and I hope that doesn't happen with him. That is, he would need to ensure that everyone is treated equally, for lack of a better expression. And then again, in terms of infrastructure, we would be happy to see a lot of roads, launched in all parts of Kenya, government projects launched in all parts of Kenya, not just in one direction, because we are very quick and very good at reading these signs, and we are like, you see, and it takes me back to the issue of it's our time to eat. And until we deal with the issue of it being your turn to eat, people will continue to feel left out. And unfortunately, if you see the way we have been waiting for the results, you wonder if we have really internalized devolution and what it does for you, because really we should be getting sleepless nights over our governors, you know, because that's where the rubber meets the road. We've talked about international relations. How does that affect my grandmother in Gotosembo? You know, she doesn't know. She lives very close to Uganda, but she doesn't understand the impact. Yet what the governor-elect Orengo would do would impact on her life directly. You know, the governor is able to work on the road right outside her home. So I wish we would find a way to also educate our people on devolution, so that we focus less and remove pressure on the presidency, because I feel we still, in our minds, we are still pre-2010 constitution. And so it leaves a very big challenge for whoever takes over, because as you can hear what I'm saying, he needs to try to distribute things everywhere to appear to be appealing to everyone.
Right.
I think it's going to take long before we take off the glamour from the presidency, because again, I do not see the need of us actually being rushed to remove that, because whoever is elected becomes the leader of our nation, the symbol of national unity. He still is the embodiment of our nationhood, our unity, and how we even share out resources. That he is the diplomat number one. He is the vanguard of our nationhood. Whatever way you look at it, it's going to take a bit of time, and there's the prestige that comes with that. We have been unable to actually do away with the prestige and everything that comes with the power. That is why even somebody who's just run for office, they've not won, they call them Mheshimiwa. When we know too well how you become a honorable member.
No, but it's because of the process. It's such a long, painful process, and you go through a lot in the hands of the
title like a warrior.
To acknowledge.
If you went to med school, for example, and did graduate, we can't call you Daktari. And there's just a very clear way on how you become Mheshimiwa, how you become His Excellency, how you become Senator.
Actually, a number of people on their own campaign material will call themselves honorable. You'll see honorable Arnold Maliba.
So there's still
even doctor.
There's still a way. We still have to go. So that is going to be there for some time. We don't have to feel bad about it. We don't have to feel bad. But what we just need to do is that continuously make the process of getting to power very transparent, very open, so that over time then people can actually go to sleep knowing that their votes are safe and will be counted, or at least those votes will be counted. And you see the process of actually ensuring that your vote is counted and you are sure. When it's counted and it doesn't turn out the way you want, you still feel sad. The anxiety that the nation is facing today has nothing to do with their vote being stolen, but it's about, will my vote count? That's the problem we have. This tissue business, people saying that people are running around with handkerchiefs. I was actually waiting for Philip Kise, the former town clerk, to be here. He told me he'll buy me a ton of handkerchiefs because
we'll have to ask.
So the anxiety has nothing to do with if their votes have been stolen or not. It's about, will my vote count? We put such premium on the candidates we vote for.
Okay. I think we're just getting live pictures there. Dan, you know, you have better eyesight than I do, but I can see an entourage of perhaps, I believe it is...
It must be some high-end official. We have already seen earlier on William Ruto arrived. We're trying to monitor to see who this entourage belongs to, who's there. But a minute or so ago, we had seen William Ruto's son getting into the auditorium, being received by the team from Kenya Kwanza.
We also have, of course, the Roots Party candidate, George Lushiri Wajakoya, who had already arrived. David Waiga?
Yes, he arrived
as Ganu Party leader
alongside. Both of them are alongside their running mates.
Right.
And I think for Wajakoya, it's interesting because he and his running mates towards, around the time we're going into the election, they seem to have a subtle fallout. So it's interesting to see them together. So let's see how that plays out in regards to after the elections, because some pronouncements may not be made before the elections, just because of the different dynamics. But aside from that, we'll see whether we'll get any more information on how that has gone.
Right.
And Wajakoya, I mean, like Achieng has said, he's and I think also Arnold saying that he has said that he believes he's winning. That is his faith, that is his pronouncement, his conviction, or just his pronouncement. It's very hard to tell of someone's conviction, but we can tell his pronouncement. That's what he has said. So far the numbers are not speaking the same language, but that notwithstanding, wait to see whether he will throw his weight behind any of the two gentlemen.
Like what we saw, yesterday.
Wahiga Mwaure Wahiga, who said that he supports the deputy president. Arnold, do you know that vehicle?
Arnold seems to.
This vehicle at the back, it's written Deep State. This Land Cruiser.
But we'll have to, touch base with our team there on ground just to get a better understanding of exactly who has arrived at the Bomas of Kenya. These are live pictures then from inside the Bomas of Kenya, the amphitheater where everybody is seated. There are sections for every single group of people. One, of course, for the candidates, one side for the family and relatives and close friends of the candidates. On one other side, you have, politicians affiliated to the different candidates also set to sit on one particular side. We've seen a couple of leaders actually there already seated. It's quite, I believe, settled at the Bomas of Kenya. And then just going back to in the country, and you can say that perhaps that this election has sort of set the bar quite high for emerging democracies in this continent, looking at how seamless it has been. I mean, to a point where the Electoral Commission posts the results on a website and says, look, any member of the public who cares to check and wants to tally the results, you can just go there, log on to the IBC website and check out the results. And we've seen, some, settled, peaceful election throughout. Yes, Arnold.
I think Kenya's commitment in the OGP, among the 5 commitments they took, one of them being the open elections, really for me, this is one commitment that we actually have pushed. We worked on the open data bit of it. It's out there. It's working well. We still are struggling with the open government entirely. There are still segments where, but largely when it comes to procurement, we've put everything out there. You can check who's what. Beneficial ownership is out there. You can check who owns what and who's doing what. On election, I think IBC have outdone themselves, gone out there. Everybody else who actually has got a question, you go to. So days when results will be amended, like where students can actually, some of us have gone to colleges where you are told it's not whether you are right or wrong on when you're doing this exam, but you'll have to convince me as your lecturer that you deserve these marks. Sometimes people will actually negotiate votes outside of our voting process, but people can sit behind some window and decide this is what so and so gets. IBC has decided that will not be the case. You cast your vote, we put it there. If you've got the capacity, count it. We go further from 34 A's, which is 46,000 of them. You collect 292, including prisons and then the diaspora. Those are 292 constituencies now. And then from 292, then we have largely, if anyone has cared to follow this, you would actually suspect where this is headed. Right. You might not be exactly the numbers, but you could see where it's going. Because if it is not in the Form 34 A's, it doesn't find its way in the Form 34 B's, and therefore will not find its way to Form 34 C.
All right.
So that's how it is. Okay. That the results as declared at the polling station are final.
Right.
Sorry, let me just interrupt you a bit on your screen. I believe that is William Ruto's mother?
Grandmother?
Mother. This is his mother. She's made her way to the Bomas of Kenya as well. I mean, it's possibly just a sign of confidence on the part of the UDA candidates team and family. And you also saw yesterday when he had there was a church service at Karen. His mom was also there alongside family members. So they're now we can see we can see more people getting to the auditorium. And so the family members are coming in, as much as they're coming in, the person who Kenyans are now very keen on seeing is Wafula Chebukati, who's meant to make that greatly awaited announcement, so that Kenyans can know where we go from here. So yes, there you see her. She's been helped to go down the stairs, so she's also made her way into the auditorium. And let's wait and see. I mean, it's a potentially proud moment for her as a mother.
Right.
But anyway, we can commentate on that after the results are out, so we do not get into any premature conversation.
We're talking about, the issue of evolution of democracy, and democracies take time to reach where they reach, especially those we've seen, most mature democracies across the globe. At the end of the day, can we say confidently that with what we've witnessed in this election and the level of openness that has come out from the poll commission, that Kenya has crossed that age in the evolution of its electoral democracy?
I think it's a continuous journey for us, and I keep making comparison in my mind with the Ugandan system in terms of how IEBC, for example, performed there. I remember the media in Uganda asking why they were not able to tell which constituencies had sent in results. And the Chebukati for there said, in a presidential election, we only have one constituency. So you begin to understand and appreciate how far we have come as a country, because we are able to see where numbers are coming from, and because you also have your 34A, you're able to make, and 34Bs, you're able to make comparisons. So in terms of strides on elections, I think we have done well, and it can only get better. But in terms of democracy, I think a lot still needs to be done, because we still coalesce around tribes. We are not yet at a point where we look at things logically or ideologically. We still look at, which is politics anyway, because it's a game of numbers. So it's only local that you identify with where the numbers are. But it seems to take more precedence over anything else. And for me, that's the concern. This is not a Kenya, it's not unique to Kenya. Globally, it happens. And I remember a few years ago, Belgium had a problem. They stayed without government for, I think, over 200 days. And it was because they have three, if you're Kenyan, you would say three tribes. They have the German speakers, the French speakers, and the other one, I don't know the name. And I remember they were making fun. People tried to bring back the Iranian story, I think. I think Iran also had a similar situation, either Iran or Iraq. And every time you bring I think either Iran or Iraq did 188 days. So every time we brought that, they would be taken to Belgium. So if even where we borrowed democracy from, if those countries whom we hail, whom we look up to for guidance when it comes to matters democracy, still vote along tribal lines, I think we have a long way to go in terms of just shaping our politics and our democracy, especially because for us, the ideology is the same. We are not yet developed to a point of being, having a variety of ideologies. We are all just social democrats with different names, as Arnold said yesterday. If you look at the manifestos, what number 3 for this one is number 1 for this other one, but it is the same.
Some sort of convergence when it comes to the ideas they have.
But we have come a long way, and it's a beautiful story. I just pray for a day we get to this Tanzanian space where it doesn't matter. They do not look at each other in terms of tribes. They look at each other in terms of the party. You align to an ideology, actually, in terms of a party. I think we perhaps need to study them more than study the West.
because for quite a long time, in 1992, for example, if you would put together the results of the people who were in opposition, literally it trumped President Moi's results. Yet, so there was a minority rule from 1992 to 1997. And then, of course, we found that in 2007, we found that there was a return to that. So that, when it's a minority rule, it lacks legitimacy. So to ensure that whoever ascends to power deliberately goes out to ensure that they reach out to the rest of the country. Because there were times when people wouldn't care to bring in other people. So you just put together a coalition of 2 or 3 tribes, so long as you work out and ensure that on the other side, people will not, the others can be running. So you can just concentrate on a section of the nation where you engage, get your votes, and then proceed to rule over the rest of the country. Completely removed from how they think and how they are doing. So, number 1, for legitimacy. Number 2, to ensure that we strengthen Enterprise Kenya. Because this project called Enterprise Kenya, still has got a lot of things to be worked on, to socialize us, to ensure that, for the longest time, we are a country, yes. We are a country, we are a republic, but has really not morphed into a nation. So to build nationhood, that whereas we are a country, you can call us a republic if you like, we really had not morphed into a nation. Because you'll still hear about the Luhya nation, the Luo nation. So Kenya as a nation, we hadn't really gelled into one.
Right.
So to ensure that political parties, and the same requirement, the same is actually required of political parties, that before you are registered as a party, you must get at least 1,000 members in at least 24 counties.
Right.
Besides the many other requirements, so that we do not have some parochial political parties that are narrow. At least when you're registering a political party, you cannot register a regional party. That no longer works. It actually was removed, so that we force everybody, whoever, because whatever political party is registered has got potential of taking over this country. No one knew that TNA would one day rule over this country. Until the other day, UDA, a party that was first registered by Raphael Tuju as a POA, then rebranded, taken up by some different people. Tuju ran on it as president. Now, that particular party that was started by Raphael Tuju to run for president on as POA, now could easily become that particular party that rules over this country. The ODM, the same way. Of course, Azimio is now the umbrella, but when ODM started off, some few young people thought the yes and no referendum was running, and they thought, this name sounds cool. Why can't we go and register it? So even the political class had to do catch up, to reach out to those young people and tell them, hey guys, we wanted to register this name, but you guys have already registered it. Now, can we take it from you?
Right.
A little bit of ingenuousness. Now, so nowadays, before people bring out a cliche or a term they think would easily be a movement, people have to register it first, secure it before they come out. Because the lessons learned from ODM were so political parties are required to do the same. So the threshold in Article 138 is very, very important to ensure that we strengthen nationhood. People go out of their way deliberately. If you're going to rise to the republic, then you must involve as many people as possible. So that over time this becomes normal. But then when we started off with we started advocacy around youth inclusion. Initially it was tokenistic. You go around, you just ensure after you've done everything, you say we don't have youth and women here. Nowadays it's been socialized that you're not going to have a sitting on public engagement or anything without having all the groups
on the table.
So you have a youth, you have got a woman. In most cases, if it's a national level, you have to bring in persons with the disability, the minorities, and the marginalized. So the 5 SIGs, special interest groups, must be on the table anytime you're doing anything. But then that sometimes didn't work in the past. If you think like Acheng here is disturbing me when I come here on the show. Every day I say this, she disturbs me. So when I become the leader of this particular show, I'm giving an example. So when I become the leader of this show, on this particular panel, we will never be called here again. So to ensure that we balance out and have everybody coming in, that's why those requirements are there. So that we strengthen the union that is the republic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a huge task for whoever comes in. The strengthening of, bringing us together, gelling us together. because in the past elections, we have still gone, the past 2 elections, we have gone with the same requirements, yet the sense of inclusion has not been there. So there must be something more to be done to give a sense of being a part of the nation. You know, as he says, the Mulembe nation, the Luo nation, we need to increasingly begin to work towards, you know, breaking it, for lack of a better word, so that even if there is a Mulembe nation, part of the Mulembe nation is on this side, the other part is on this side, so it's not an issue, you know. It would be a very good thing if the nations did not vote as a bloc, and I think for me that's one thing that perhaps Uhuru has helped achieve, that without not by I don't know if it was by design, but the fact that I love that the Kikuyus, we saw a significant increase in the votes that Raila got from the mountain. And yes, Ruto got the block he got. I think for me that's a beautiful thing, because both sides had Kikuyus as running mates. And I hate that I am talking about tribes again. Had Kikuyus as running mates, but it sort of begins to demystify it, you know. So now we know that you can go against a kingpin, you know. So the other nations will probably follow suit going forward. Luyas have been very good at that. They never follow a kingpin. They just go their way. Now Kikuyus have joined in. Hopefully the other nations will also follow suit and have their own, you know.
But essentially, at the end of it all,
divisions.
this you know, stringent winning margin that the Constitution has set, of course, is just to ensure that the country produces, you know, national leaders and agendas, sort of a culture of alliance across the entire nation. So then we don't have to speak, you know, 5-10 years down the lane, we don't have to speak about, you know, the Mount
nations.
Kenya. We don't have to speak, the coastal people on one hand, you have the Mulembe people on the other hand. At the end of it, we're just speaking about Kenyans, and we're just speaking about the people on this other part of the country, and then the guys on this other side. And don't have to be tribal. But also at the very end of it, after this declaration, and from what we've seen across the country in terms of the other elective positions, the other important work that will come after this, and you know, with the country, of course, salvaging itself from you know quite a dark past and dented past, it rests on now, you know, the courts. Perhaps for those who feel aggrieved, and we've seen a number of, you know, those who are seeking positions who felt aggrieved, that, you know what, the next course of action for me is to go to the courts. So let me begin with you, Achieng, on this. I mean, when we're looking at the courts, has it been able to, you know, set itself, you know, in that position where we can be able to get to that level of, you know, democracy we're looking at?
You know, it's interesting that parties, if you interacted with them closely before the election, you would get a sense that everybody was gathering evidence. You know, somehow in our minds, it was going to go wrong and we were going to go to court. So people were already in the process of just gathering evidence, and you would hear that, like Azimio complaining that, Kenya Kwanza got an opportunity to go to Greece, we did not get. Why isn't there equality? You know, at some point when they were claiming that Tsitsi had been to Greece and they hadn't been invited. Later on, everyone went. But you could see, and I think the ODM party said that all the communication they did with IEBC, they had done numerous letters. Again, people are building files, you know, evidence. Oh, we asked for this, they didn't do. We asked for this, they didn't respond. And so with this knowledge, the courts then began to prepare. No, they didn't begin at that point, but the courts went on to prepare themselves, you know, because we all know it will be close. The person who misses it is probably going to go and seek refuge in court. So the court has really invested in the process, and not just the national one. Throughout the process, even in the primaries, you saw that first there were less cases, but the process of resolving disputes from the primaries took a very short time. So courts have heavily invested. I think they trained, I don't remember the numbers of judges that they towards this process, and the clerks, and when they had issues with resources, they had the numbers to handle whatever was going to come their way. So it's going to be, they will deliver in good time. And I think they're very well prepared. They've had, every time they do training. And the other thing about transparency, again, that I love about the judiciary is that they have really embraced it. You know, they're all over social media. They make sure we know that which they are doing. I think also towards just building our confidence, because they know this day is coming.
Right.
You know, so they have done very well before. And have even ruled against the executive, something we never imagined possible. Whether or not the executive has respected is another story, but they have ruled against the executive before. So a lot of confidence has also been built in the judiciary, which is a good thing. So that, because whoever goes to the court tomorrow will know that whatever decision the judiciary makes will be a fair one.
Right.
And their followers will not have issues with that decision, because we have a history to lean on. And then now they also have their funds have been operationalized. So they have a sense of independence, you know, actual independence. Forget about the one you told you're independent, but you don't have resources.
Right.
Now they have actual independence. So there will be no claims of State House freezing funds, State House doing 1, 2, 3. So now they're totally independent. And it was important that that was done before presidential petitions are done, just to enhance confidence. And remember, all this, I think all our lessons come from 2007. Nobody wants us to go back there. Nobody wants us to even get halfway to where we went.
Even 2017.
Oh,
That jurisprudence has actually grown over time from 2007. We've increasingly worked on strengthening our institutions. We are building institutions to ensure that then we really have to depend on individuals, because on the day the individuals don't show up, then we don't have things working. I like using Michuki's example. Michuki was the Minister for Transport just after Kibaki came to power. He streamlined the Matatu sector very, very well. Of course, there is a guy who came in after he was transferred, and he said, I also run Matatus, and I'm not going to actually be so hard on the Matatu sector. And somehow we relapsed into the old bad manners. But somehow a lot of the progress that has been made in the transport sector was pushed by an individual. And by the way, when he came in, he never passed any new law. Those regulations and laws already were in existence. It was just not being implemented. So we've grown our institutions. But over and above, you must remember one thing, that Americans, an old American once said that the price of liberty or democracy is eternal vigilance.
You know, is this to say that in some cases we have individuals who are bigger than systems? Like if it's Michuki?
When we actually have to depend on personalities, then in their absence, because people are not forever, people are not eternal, people are not perpetual. You cannot succeed yourself like an institution. But you know, Kenya has been there since I think when did these guys start this enterprise? They didn't discover us. So well, the other day I actually was in New York, and I thought, why have I not discovered Manhattan as an island? And actually named it my village where I come from, and say that this is Nabunulu Island. I didn't do that. so that's it. We have grown our institutions, but I actually was talking about the Constitution 2010. The Constitution is so robust and transformative that it defends itself even when there is a conspiracy between a few elements in the judiciary and the executive, or even the legislature or independent offices, because the architects of our Constitution were not bold enough to just say that we have got 4 arms of government, because the independent officers should just be what you call a 4th arm of government, because IBC should not somehow be put under a certain ministry the way we attempted to do that with the independent officers when Jubilee came into office. We attempted to put them under ministries. So that's why in other jurisdictions, they insist that independent officers are an armament on their own. So the Constitution has defended itself. It's not been so much about us, because we forget a lot and we relapse and try to, especially when we're in power, we start to do the bad manners that we were doing advocacy against.
Right. On the screen, you can see some laughter and cheer, and that is between some of the members of the Azimio side and the members of the and a member of the UDA. So you could see there's some cordialness, you know, behind the some of the pronouncements we've seen across the campaign trail.
Right.
On your screen there is the CAS. We should not call them outgoing CAS. We don't know what happened to that position for
Maybe
industry. That's Bwana Osiani, alongside Mwangi wa Iria, who is the outgoing governor of Muranga and the outgoing governor of Kisii, that's Ongwae. And they were speaking to Kipchumba Murkomen, who is a very ardent member of UDA and the Kenya Kwanza coalition, and he's one who actually has reclaimed his seat with a significant margin. So again, we've seen them having these interactions, which I guess are things that those who have been pushing for there to be peace and cordialness after the announcement would cite such examples where we have people on the opposing sides having those slight moments and speaking to each other, not at each other, which we have been treated to during the campaigns. But now we have the next step after this announcement is made. But in the meantime, as we grab,
I know. I mean, and as we wait, look, we were told 3 p.m. Now it's 4:22. We're still waiting.
But
yes.
What time specifically did they specify? There is 3 p.m. State House time, 3 p.m. IBC time.
In Swahili they say ukisha kula ng'ombe mzima
huwezi acha mkia.
Sasa ile mkia ndio imebaki is what we're waiting for now, right? So
whatever time Chebukati shows up, it is actually 3 p.m. Chebukati time. Because this is his hour.
Yeah.
It is said you may have the clock, but we have the time.
All right. I think
on our screen we see these are NCIC commissioners.
Yes, in fact,
and some of the officials from the NCIC. We have
Danvers there.
Danvers, and then we have Wambui Nyoto there, who is the vice chair. And so you could see it's pretty much a representation of all the relevant bodies, both government and non-government,
right,
who are there. But let's cross over to Bomas of Kenya, listening to the choir. I presume their singing could possibly help us all relax.
Indeed, we really do hope so. Okay, so then we'll come back and see what's happening.
Kunyamba Kenya we, utubaribiewa. Wataka kunyamba Kenya we, utubaribiewa. Harufu yako twaijua, hata ukipanda ndege. Harufu yako twaijua tu, hata ukipanda ndege. Ewe Kenya inji yangu, ewe Kenya baba yangu, ewe Kenya mama yangu, sitakuacha milele. Kenya yangu usijali, ukitukanwa na jirani. Kenya yangu usijali, ukitukanwa na jirani. Yeye anaona wivu kwa vile umeendelea. Yeye anaona wivu kwa vile umeendelea. Anakuita nyang'au, amekuita mnyonyaji. Amekuita nyang'au, amekuita mnyonyaji. Naye yazidi kuporomoka, wacha yeye yaporomoke. Naye yazidi kuporomoka, wacha yeye yaporomoke. Ewe Kenya inji yangu, ewe Kenya baba yangu, ewe Kenya mama yangu, sitakuacha milele.
Well, you know, there's no limit on how far someone can go to sabotage a constitutional office. But what we do know for sure is that the Constitution expects a harmonious work relationship between the two offices, regardless of the composition or the nature of their relationship between the office of the president and the office of the leader of majority. I think that scenario has not already played, but if it were to happen, if Parliament does not want to advance the legislative interest of the executive, then the executive is at liberty to move to court to compel them to pass legislation that are key. If they cannot pass those legislation, then we would have to review. The political accountability would be the executive would then retreat back and say, you know what, I am going to implement the laws that have been passed by Parliament. If Parliament decides to sabotage national interest, then they do not punish the president. You punish the general population, which includes the voters.
All right, it's now 4:30 p.m. We've been here for more than 5 hours waiting for the fifth. And I think, Lulu, we have to let go for another team to continue with the very important duty of waiting, because that's our work. My name is Sam Gituku.
Nami nasema shukran sana kwa wageni wetu siku ya leo, lakini haimaanishi kwamba tunaacha kupeperusha taarifa hizi moja kwa moja, lakini kuna wengine ambao wanaingia sasa, wanashikilia zamu. Wahiga Maura, Jeff Koinange, Vigiru Badulu, Nabii Mashima Kapombe.
Na bila shaka tulikuwa watatu, hatujabahatika kupata matokeo moja kwa moja kwa rais wa 5, lakini tuna wenzetu 4 wanakamilisha marais wa kwanza, wa pili, wa 3, wa 4 watakuwa wanaingia studioni.
Do the incredible, climb the mountain, do the impossible, reach beyond the sun. We rise, we stretch beyond our limits, and we are stronger. We have fire. We are. We are. We are. We are. We dunia ni yako, wewe shujaa bingwa nguruma, kuwa mjasiri, wewe shujaa bingwa nguruma, ushindi ni wako, wewe shujaa bingwa nguruma, pambani, wewe shujaa. We are, we rise, we spread beyond our limits. We are stronger. We have fire. We are. We are. We are. We are. Victorious. 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 We are. We are. We are. Victorious. Victorious. We are, we are, we are. Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa simama. Nchi yangu, jukumu langu, mimi ni shujaa, shujaa. Najivunia taifa langu, mimi ni shujaa, shujaa. Simama, Wakenya wote simama. Simama, wewe shujaa simama. Simama Wakenya wote, simama. Simama wewe shujaa, simama.
Kenya yaito beautiful, mazingira tupate kalafu. Aba Kenya na bantu wonderful, proud to be Kenyan, I'm grateful. Chinguru chaito, chinguru chaito, osigeta basani benze yaito. Omorembo ito.
Ase obama, tochite amo. Tusonge kwa pamoja. Tumetoka mbali, tunaenda mbali. Sote kwa pamoja. Jukumu langu, mimi ni shujaa. Shujaa, najivunia taifa langu, mimi ni shujaa. Shujaa, simama Wakenya wote, simama. Simama, simama wewe shujaa, simama. Simama Wakenya wote, simama. Simama wewe shujaa, simama.
Never do a card in Tuntori Kuanga, Tuanga Lioka, Tumo Kibuka, Kenya Yaitonize Yama Shujoka, never Kigano, Katinto.
Yangu, jukumu langu, naitenga inchi yangu. Hatuchagui kazi, kazi boda boda, vijana mitaani.
Kenya Yaitomo Lembe, no bomo no wachanitari. Nande tiganya saya tolende, atokitera tuagate botambe.
Nchi yangu, jukumu langu, mimi ni shujaa. Shujaa, najivunia taifa langu, mimi ni shujaa. Shujaa, simama Wakenya wote, simama. Simama wewe shujaa, simama. Simama Wakenya wote, simama. Simama wewe shujaa, simama.
Ukabila ni romana na upinga shujaa namba moja, nchi yangu na ilinda.
Some of them ought to have been arrested if they were not arrested. I think you will remember that I had earlier stated that Bomas of Kenya was a crime scene. And that was way before the results of this election came out. The reason that I said Bomas of Kenya was a crime scene is because as Kenyans were busy waiting for the outcome of this election, the members of this commission, we believe led by Wafula Chebukati himself, were busy tampering and tinkering and
mimi ni shujaa. Shujaa, simama Wakenya wote, simama.
I will now give it to my colleagues. And lastly, because my colleagues have indicated, lastly, may I say that the results, whatever they are, as we do not know, whether they favor us or they don't, those results have been held in a very opaque manner. We are saying we want to see them. Once we see them, we would want to verify them. Once we verify them, we will be able to know and to tell the Kenyan people, because a result that is not verifiable is not a result, and therefore that is our and the chairman had actually assured Kenyans that he will run this process transparently, which he has not.
Party chairman, party leader, presidential candidate is coming here.
I will not take questions for now, but we were not in a position to ask our party leader to come before we actually verify the results. So the first step was to verify the results, which we have not been able to do.
Can you tell us about the irregularities?
Yeah, I think that's enough. That's enough. Thank you very much.
Citizen. Citizen, you are mic.
Kukinyesha tusinyeshewe, tuwe salama. Serikali kaingilia, tapunguza gharama. The day is finally here, tunahama. Finally, sawa kwa wote. Hata yule mapato ni duni, malazi yapata. Tujenge, sisi wana Kenya tujijenga. Tuanzeni kujenga, watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga. The journey starts with you and with me. Freedom is freedom today.
Mimi na wewe ndio wenye nchi, tujenge pamoja.
Tuanzeni kujenga, watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga. Tuanzeni kujenga, watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga. Tuanzeni kujenga, watoto wetu wasikose mahali pa kwenda. Chukua mawe na simiti weka kwa mabega. Tunajenga, tunajenga.
Sawa. So that is George Luchiri, Wajakoya, and of course Wahiga Mwaure, both of Roots Party and Agano Party. And we just spoke to Azimio Moja One Kenya Coalition chief agent, and they are claiming that they have not seen Form 34C. The Form 34C, just to explain to you and expand on this, is the form that is signed by the chief agent after receiving Form 34B from all the 290 constituencies. And what they're claiming right now is that the form has not been availed to them. This was supposed to be done when all the 290 constituencies have been verified, and that has not happened. And they're saying they will not sign unless they have verified all the 290 constituencies Form 34Bs. And that is, they're claiming that is the Kenya Kwanza, they're claiming to have rigged the election. And they're saying they will not agree to the outcome of the election unless they see Form 34C. And they will not agree to the outcome of that election unless all the forms are availed to them. The verification exercise has been happening here for the last 6 days. And today is the 6th day, and we were expecting at around 3 p.m. to receive the final tally of all the 290 constituencies and the winner thereof through Form 34B. There's something else that is happening on the other side, and so if my camera person can show you what has been happening here is that everything right now is in limbo. That
some of the Azimio la Umoja coalition members, I am made to believe that is Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. We're not sure about it, but that is what we're made to believe. There is a press conference that is going on right now. It's a flurry of activities since the 3 p.m. when we were told that we'll be having the press. We're here, Charity Ngilu.
And the chief agent has been asking, can you be more transparent and share with us? And he is not sharing. So he says, I'm the returning officer. I am the chairman.
Babu zetu walimwaga damu kukomboa nchi yetu Kenya, tukapata uhuru. Kwa juhudi zao tunajitawala, kwa ujuzi wetu tunasonga mbele. Kenya, viwandani tunachapa kazi, mashambani tunachapa kazi. We celebrate Kenya.
I hear a whisper in the wind of a people with a dream, different colors of a nation come together for a win. We share spirit deep within, our hearts beat in the rhythm. Different faces of the nation come together for the win.
Pamoja tunaweza tujijenga, pamoja we can.
We are, we rise, we spread beyond our limits. We are stronger. We have fire. We are fire. We are. Warriors. We are.
This is Kenya's Choice 2022, and many thanks for keeping it Citizen TV, even as we keep our cameras and our eyes fixed on the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. My name is Wahiga Mwaura, and I'm not alone here in studio. I'm together with...
Naam, bila shaka mimi ni Mashirima Kapombe, tukiwa tunaendelea tu kusubiri tangazo hilo kutoka IEBC. Mwenyekiti wa IEBC Wafula Chebukati alikuwa anatarajiwa kutangaza rais aliyechaguliwa mwendo wa saa 9, wakaahirisha hadi mwendo wa saa 10. Sijui kama wanangojea saa 11 ndio iwe the 5th at 5 p.m.
That is the question we are all asking. And Victoria Rubediri, all eyes, of course, are at the Bomas of Kenya. And this is after slightly over 14.1 million Kenyans took to the polling stations on August 9th. And their votes taking that journey from the over 46,000 polling stations to now the Form 34C, bearing the final result of the presidential race. 4 presidential candidates campaigned, they debated, and now waiting for this moment of reckoning. But we also have
Jeff Koinange here in the house, folks. And I tell you, it's been a wait and a wait and a wait. The patience of Kenyans is wearing. It's going to wear at some point because, you know, Chebukati promised to make an announcement 3 p.m. It's now 5 p.m.
The choirs can only do so much.
The choir. I think the fat lady has come and sang again. So we're waiting. It's a waiting game.
But something very interesting, Jeff, happened about a little under 30 minutes ago. The chief agent of Raila Odinga, Saitaba Ole Kanchori, called for a sort of impromptu press briefing just outside that auditorium there at the Bomas of Kenya, and said some very interesting things that may shed light on why we continue to wait and why presidential candidates and their agents have actually walked out of Bomas, including members of the diplomatic corps, and are now holding impromptu meetings on different parts of the premises of the Bomas of Kenya. This is what Saitabao said. He said, this election is not verifiable from where they sit. He raised questions with the chairman of the IEBC that they feel they do not have answers to. And when the chief agent of Raila Odinga was asked whether his presidential candidate is expected, he said that Raila Odinga will not be called to Bomas until his team has verified the results, have agreed with them, and these results are contained in the Form 34C, a compilation of Form 34Bs from the 290 constituencies plus 1 from the diaspora vote. And so that's what we know at this moment. Obviously, you can tell that something is afoot for an announcement that was to be made at 3 p.m. Almost 2 hours later, no sign of the commissioners, a lot of activity there. And then this statement by the chief agent of Raila Odinga, giving us a bit of an idea of where the dispute may be, and that is what may have caused this particular delay. Thanks for staying with us, wherever you're joining us from in Kenya and around the world. And let me also introduce our guests who are here with us. Bobby Mkangu continues to remain with us, an advocate of the High Court. Thanks for your patience today and just for bearing with this. We want to pick your mind a little bit. We're also joined by Titus Mahanu, an advocate of the High Court. And Titus, I can start immediately with you. You listened to that press briefing. What do you make of it?
Of course, under the Constitution, any candidate that has participated in an election has a right to either accept the results, has a right to reject the results based on how they view and based on the grounds that they feel ought to be put out in the public there.
Okay. What do you think Saitaba was not saying?
As to try and read into his intention,
yes,
a bit difficult, but what I can say is I foresee a situation where this election is going to be challenged.
You foresee that, and we have some of the timelines, and we'll be showing our viewers a bit later on what that looks like. But my goodness, this is quite a trend.
Definitely, if the elections are going to be challenged, we are looking at a scenario where the petition challenging the declaration has to be filed within 7 days. And 14 days after filing of that petition, the Supreme Court needs to determine it. Now, the question will be, or it will depend as to how the verdict will come. If the Supreme Court will be able to overturn the declaration, then we are staring at another 60 days within which another fresh election needs to be held.
And of course,
we're looking at probably towards the end of October before we can conclude this exercise of elections.
Na nadhani Mkangi, ukiangalia jinsi hali ilivyo pale, baadhi ya viongozi kutoka pande zote mbili walikuwa wametulia awali. Sasa hivi unaona ni kama wengine wanatoka, wengine wanarudi, wengine wanapigana pambaja. Je, inakupa matumaini kwamba kutakuwa na tangazo leo la rais aliyechaguliwa?
Nadhani manake mwenyekiti na tunasema ndio tuseme mwenye shughuli ya leo Mheshimiwa Wafula Chebukati alikuwa amewatangazia Wakenya na tunaweza kusema ulimwengu mzima, manake macho yanaangazia Kenya leo, kwamba atatoa taarifa ama matangazo yake rasmi kuhusu ni nani ameibuka mshindi wa uchaguzi wa urais wa mwaka huu hivi leo, na hata alikuwa ametaja kwamba hii shughuli itaanza saa 9 mchana. Kwa hivyo nadhani ataendelea na shughuli na atatoa matangazo yake. Tumesikia pia kutoka upande wa mgombea wa Azimio Kenya One wakisema kwamba hawajaridhika na mchakato haswa kuhakikisha matokeo kufikia sasa, lakini hakutoa taarifa za ziada. Pengine kwa upande wao manake wanajua siku za makataa.
Bobby, if I can interrupt to just let our viewers know, there seem to be some leaders exiting the Bomas of Kenya. I've seen outgoing Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria is leaving. Outgoing Governor James Ongwae should be of Kisii also leaving. A sign, and of course they are Azimio leaning. We don't know where they're headed to, possibly to converge either at KICC at the Azimio Command Center, or maybe even to meet with presidential candidate Raila Odinga, but that is their motorcade, and they have left the Bomas of Kenya. And this is a kind of activity we may see in line with that statement by Saitabao Ole Kanchori that they haven't verified the results. They are not clearly satisfied if Chebukati was to read or make an announcement right now. And so this is very telling. Mkangu, you can continue.
Nilikuwa nasema kwamba siku za makataa za kikatiba ni kesho. Kwa hivyo hatujui kama upande wa mgombea aliyekuwa waziri mkuu Raila Odinga wanataka kuiomba tume iwape fursa ya wao wenyewe kuhakikisha kwamba wanakubaliana na matokeo ambayo yatatangazwa leo, lakini hiyo inaashiria kwamba pengine wanajua matokeo, kwa sababu huwezi kukikataa ambacho hujakiona ama hujakisikia. Lakini kama ulivyouliza, nadhani shughuli itaendelea, manake hapo awali tulipokuwa tunachanganua na wenzangu tulikumbuka kwamba katika chaguzi za hapo awali za mwaka 2013, 2017 mgombea Raila Odinga hakuwepo wakati mara ya kwanza mwenyekiti Isaka Hassan, na mwaka 2017 Wafula Chebukati alikuwa anatangaza matokeo. Kwa hivyo nadhani hilo la kwamba hao hawajaridhika na ambacho kama nilivyosema pengine washajua ni nini kitakachotangazwa. Kama hawatakuwa Wahiga amesema kwamba tumeona wengine wakiondoka, nadhani shughuli itaendelea. Wafula Chebukati atafanya matangazo yake, na kwa sababu huu sio mwisho wa mchakato, manake matangazo ya Wafula Chebukati sio hapa, mfumo wetu sio kama nchi jirani Tanzania, ambapo hakuna fursa ama nafasi ya kupinga matokeo katika mahakama ama katika taasisi nyingineyo. Hapa kuna hiyo fursa, na kama hawajakubaliana nayo basi wana yeyote, manake hata sasa hatujajua matokeo.
Lakini pia Chebukati alisema kwamba atahakikisha kwamba hili tangazo halitafanywa usiku.
Naam.
Je, kuna uwezekano kwamba si kama Titus anaweza jibu hilo, kuna uwezekano wa tangazo hili kutolewa kesho?
Naam, nitajaribu kujibu kwa Kiswahili. Kulingana na sheria, kuna sheria ambayo inaitwa Interpretation, General Provisions and Interpretation Act, CAP2 ya Kenya, ambayo inapatia mwongozo kamili wa kuchanganua mambo ya muda kwa sababu kikatiba Chebukati amepewa siku 7. Lakini ukiangalia katika ile sheria, siku 7 katika kisheria inamaanisha siku kama 8-9 hivi. Manake siku ambaye jambo lafaa kufanyika huwa haihesabiwi. Kwa hivyo bado ana muda, na hata ikiwa labda kungekuwa na kazi imemzidia hivyo kana kwamba hawajamaliza mambo ya verifiability, angeweza kuenda kotini na kuuliza muda zaidi. Manake katiba haijatoa mwongozo kamili ya kwamba siku 7 zinapoisha basi hiyo shughuli inakuwa imeishia hapo. Hapana, imesema tu ana uwezo wa kutoa uamuzi wake chini ya muda wa siku 7. Lakini kwa sababu tuko na Supreme Court hapa Kenya, ikiwa huo muda umemuishia, anaweza enda kotini akauliza muda zaidi.
Okay. Bobby, let me bring you in here because there's a lot of speculation, especially on social media, as to what appears on that Form 34C and whose signatures should be appended on it. I've been seeing talk of some chief agents refusing to sign that form. Are they needed for that declaration to be made?
Well, at the end of the day, and we've seen even forms that stem from the polling stations, which some do not have signatures from the agents, and so that detail is recorded, and the signatures from the agents indicate a consensus, an agreement with what is indicated in those forms. So at the end of the day, the forms were still transmitted. The returning officers still did bring them to the National Tallying Office. So it is not the signatures of the agents that particularly legitimize the legality of the form itself, because it's a form that is of the honors of the chairperson of the IEBC as the National Returning Officer. So the signatures from the agents, at the end of the day, do infuse a level of credibility and agreement as to what they indicate, but it does not stop the National Returning Officer from declaring the elections because one side has refused to sign or has indicated reservations with what is in the form. So at the end of the day, if the chairperson decides to make the formal declaration, he will go ahead and do it and indicate that there were reservations from whatever side it was and the particular aspects of the reservations. And then those issues will be dealt with in the next step, and especially so if the side which is opposed to the declaration and the content of the form does choose to use the next step, and that is to petition at the Supreme Court.
And basically, just to probably an addition, the moment you see a candidate to an election or their representatives objecting, disputing, or refusing to sign Form 34C, just like at the polling stations, you are you ought to know that you are staring at an election petition.
Na Titus, kidogo tusikize kile ambacho kinaendelea, maanake inaonekana kwamba kuna nyimbo sijui ni za sifa ama ni za nini. Hebu tusikize. Sijui kile ambacho kinaendelea Bomas.
Serikali yetu imbioni, serikali yetu imbioni, tunafuata mwendo wetu Kenya. Warambe heko, heko jamhuri, heko jamhuri, heko jamhuri, Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Heko jamhuri, heko jamhuri, heko jamhuri, Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Twaenda mbio, heko Kenya yaenda mbele. Heko twaenda mbele. Kenya yaenda mbele. Kwa elimu twaenda mbele. Babuni twaenda mbele. Viwandani twaenda mbele. Na mashambani twaenda mbele.
Status.
And folks, if you're listening in, you can tell from the body language of the people in that auditorium, it's very telling. It's very telling. You can see Kenya Kwanza are literally going with the flow. And a moment ago, you saw the likes of Siaya Governor-elect James Orengo leaving this area. And his body language said it all. Wahiga, I don't know if you noticed that.
There's a lot of movement here. This is a secure part of the auditorium. It's very hard to get in there, Jeff. And you must have the right sort of accreditation. We're seeing members of the diplomatic corps making their way there. You're seeing agents of presidential candidates also. You wonder what's happening behind the scenes. What are we not aware of at this time? But the body language here, Jeff, doesn't need much interpretation, does it?
No. They're going with the flow. It looks like mostly Kenya Kwanza who is doing that.
And so here's what we know so far. About 40 minutes ago, so after silence from the agents of both leading presidential candidates, Saitabao Ole Kanchori had an impromptu press briefing just on the lawn there of the Bomas of Kenya. He said from where they sit, the verification was opaque. They did their tally and they have not been able to access the Form 34C. They have questions. They believe the election is not verifiable. And for that reason, they will not be asking or inviting their presidential candidate to make his way to the Bomas of Kenya until they have that confirmation. So that is their challenge at this particular moment. Remember, a few days ago, Saitabao had actually walked up to the dais there and stated that the Bomas of Kenya is a crime scene. Remember, also, Wafula Chebukati had stated that he will make this announcement during daylight hours. Jeff, we have about 52 minutes to 6 p.m. If he wants to stick within that, he's got another 52 minutes or so to make that announcement. But I'm told we also have some more news from the IBC. Mashirima.
Naam, bila shaka zile taarifa ambazo naarifiwa kwamba tuendelee kwanza huku tukingoja taarifa hizo ziweze kuthibitishwa, lakini kama tumekuwa tukisema hapa, hizo nyimbo si za sifa, ni za uzalendo, lakini inaonekana ni upande mmoja ambao unahisi kwamba ni wazalendo hivi sasa. Tumekuwa tukitarajia kwamba tangazo hili litafanyika toka saa 9, lakini baadhi ya viongozi haswa kutoka Azimio la Umoja tumewaona wakiondoka kutoka hapo Bomas. Kama alivyosema awali Wahiga, ni kwamba wakala mkuu wa upande wa Azimio Saitabao Ole Kanchori alikuwa na wanahabari hapo awali na kusema kwamba wanatashwishi kwa sababu hawajaweza kuona hiyo fomu 34C ambayo ndio imejumlisha matokeo kutoka zile fomu 34B. Kumbuka walikuwa wanahakiki fomu 34A zilizokuwa kwenye Kim's kit, kisha wanalinganisha na zile original. D ambayo ndio cheti cha kumkabidhi mshindi wa uchaguzi huu wa urais. Kinyang'anyiro ambacho bila shaka kimekuwa kigumu, sijui nisemeje, manake zile takwimu ambazo tumekuwa tukiona ni kwamba hawa wagombeaji wawili wakuu wamekuwa karibiana sana, lakini nadhani kwa sasa kile ambacho wengi wanataka kujua ni nini haswa kinachoendelea Bomas, mbali na wale ambao
Bechidiki muripiko imi Bechidiki muripiko imi Ande tino resta kuvota Ande tino resta kuvota Ande tino resta kuvota I was Samaru, I was at 18 years ago. Sajura Boga Karabo, the Nonorita Woodego. Iwara, Dimira Mangwana Rejik, and 18 or Resta Kuvota. Dimira Mangwana Rejik, and 18 or Resta Kuvota. Kanato Vota, Mwene Mumano Potera Baturanoda. Kanato Vota, Mwene Mumano Potera Baturanoda. Ingabazanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC, Chiroso Adai. Ingabazanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC, Chiroso Adai. Avanano Zira, Shamarono Zazono Desha, no Drabatrono Deo. Abana Zagawanda Zunomodiwa, Chitupachako Nepo President. Abana Zagamwana Zunomodiwa, Chitupachako Nepo President. Kana Uchigara Muturuba, Torari City Magazine. Kana Uchigara Muturuba, Torari City Muraiwe. Kana Muchigara Kumusha, Yore Waisambane Mazapu. Kana Muchigara Kumusha, Yore Waisambane Mazapu. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane. Mumos vamza segwem. Sa mofu di nyega yute gatra say muziru da kuvol. Ha? Ane man inde man nuru izo vota man. Chiko jinone da mungo vunza umareni mumo kuti registration senderi babe batu. Zata zokuti amuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vatopihwa mari nokuti vaenda kunorejista kuvota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwene vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati ukanda chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Musambofanirwe kupuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda. vechidiki muripiko imi, vechidiki, vechidiki, vechidiki muripiko imi. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. I was Samaru, I was 18 years ago. Saji ura boga karebo buta de no rizo buta de go. Iwara. Dimira mangwana renyika, ande itinoresta kuvota. Dimira mangwana renyika, ande itinoresta kuvota. Kana tovota, mumwene mumwano potera baturanoda. Kana tovota, mumwene mumwano potera baturanoda. Ingaba zanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC chiroso wadai. Ingaba zanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC chiroso wadai. Abana numbo kudzira, shamari ono zazo unuda sha, unuvudira batura unuda yo. Abana zwaga wanda zunombodiwa, chitupa chako nepuwa presidenti. Abana zwaga wanda zunombodiwa, chitupa chako nepuwa presidenti. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, torari city yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, torari city yemuraiwe. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha, nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane. Mumuzi famisa segwem. Sa mofuko di nyega yute kadra say muziru da kuvoli. Ane mani inde mani nurizo vota mani. Chiko jinoneta mungo funza umareni mumo. Kuti registration senda iri babi pajuzi. Zata zokuti amuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvota. Mukatarisa chipi ndiwena vari kutopa vanhu mari uko. Manje vamwe vakati kana chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera. Saka mubofanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika yedu. Nguda urozeka iwe shamari ura. Anenoresta kuvota. 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 Vechidiki, vechidiki, vechidiki muripiko imi. Vechidiki, vechidiki, vechidiki muripiko imi. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. Andei, tinoresta kuvota. I was Samaru, I was 18 years ago. Saji ura boga karebo buta de no rizo buta de go. Iwara. Dimira mangwana renyika, ande itinoresta kuvota. Dimira mangwana renyika, ande itinoresta kuvota. Kana tovota, mumwene mumwano potera baturanoda. Kana tovota, mumwene mumwano potera baturanoda. Ingaba zanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC chiroso wadai. Ingaba zanu, kana tripusi, kana MDC chiroso wadai. Abana numbo kudzira, shamari ono zazo unuda sha, unuvudira batura unuda yo. Abana zwaga wanda zunombodiwa, chitupa chako nepuwa presidenti. Abana zwaga wanda zunombodiwa, chitupa chako nepuwa presidenti. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, torari city yemagetsi. Kana uchigara mudhorobha, torari tora risiti yemvura iwe. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku. Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mani mumozifambisa sekwem saka mofunga kuti nyika yedu tegadzira sei muzere kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungovhunza bvunzo mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze muzata sokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe vatopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunorejista kuvhota mukatarisa chipindi wenu vari kutopa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati chipi chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera mukambofanirwe kupiwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika kayedu nguda urezeka shamari uda Vechidiki muripiko imi Vechidiki muripiko imi Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Aiwachamaru ausatozita 18 years rewe Sachiura boka karepo kutatena norita kuvota seko Iwara Timira mangwana renyika Andei tinoresta kuvota Timira mangwana renyika Andei tinoresta kuvota Kana tovota Mumwene mumwana potera batora anoda Kana tovota Mumwene mumwana potera batora anoda Ingava zanu Kana tripusi Kana MDC chiro zwadai Ingava zanu Kana tripusi Kana MDC chiro zwadai Avana nombokudzira Shamari unozaza unoda sha Unovodira batora unoda yo Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa Chitupa chako neproof of residence Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa Chitupa chako neproof of residence Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemvura iwe Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku Kana muchigara kumusha nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mani mumozifambisa sekwem saka mofunga kuti nyika yedu tegadzira sei muzere kuda kuvhota ane mani indai mani munorwisa kuvhota mani chiko chinonetsa mungovhunza bvunzo mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze
Justice Nyang'aya, these are commissioners Francis Wanderi, Irene Masit, 4 of the 7 IEBC commissioners not at the Bomas of Kenya but at the Serena Hotel, and they're about to issue a statement. We're not sure why they're not at Bomas. It was assumed they'd all be together, but let's listen in.
Ready? Give it to me. Well, good evening. As you can see, part of the commissioners are here because this is what we want to say. We have done the 2022 general election in the most effective and efficient manner. We have ensured that all the challenges have been contained, but
Just go ahead.
okay. As you can see, we are part of the commissioners in the IEBC. We have conducted the 2022 general election, and we have ensured that we have improved the standards, and we have ensured that we have consistently communicated what is happening. We have partnered with all stakeholders, and we'll say it for a fact that as the Commission, we have done a good job. But some things need to be put out there. As you can see, the four of us, we are here, not at Bomas of Kenya, where the results is going to be announced because of the opaque nature of how this phase has been handled. We therefore cannot take ownership on the results that is going to be announced. However, we have an open door that people can go to court. And because of the same, we urge Kenyans to be peaceful because the rule of the law is going to prevail. Thank you.
What's happening?
I said because of the opaque nature of this last phase of the general election, and we are not able to take ownership of the results that will be announced. We are going to give a comprehensive statement, but this is from us, the four of us, and again, we urge Kenyans to keep calm. There is an open door that people can go to court, and the rule of law is going to prevail. Thank you.
What do you mean by people can go to court? What is not happening?
We have said. Have you just come?
Commissioner.
Commissioner. A recap because we are not going to take questions. Agreed. We will give a comprehensive detail of today's. I have said.
When is that likely to be?
They want a recap. There are people who missed. Yes. We are saying we have up the standards of election in this country. We have, step by step, faced the challenges that have been there. At the same time, we have ensured that things are running despite everything else. Now, we are not at Bomas of Kenya because we cannot take ownership of the results that is going to be announced because of the opaque nature which these results have been handled. We'll give details of this opaque nature very soon.
Why are you doing this now? Why are you doing this now?
Naam.
Those are live images from the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. We've also brought you that short press briefing by 4 commissioners at the Serena Hotel. What is emerging is a split at the IEBC with Wafula Chebukati, the chair, and 2 commissioners who had earlier on made their way to the dais there at the Bomas of Kenya, possibly to release the results. But commotion ensued there at the dais, a security situation, and the security officers there are now trying to sort out the situation. But I know, Mashirima, you're also following what was happening at the Serena Hotel, where that press briefing just took place.
Naam, bila shaka na naibu mwenyekiti wa IEBC Juliana Cherera pamoja na makamishna wengine wa IEBC Julius Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi na Irene Masit wakiwa wanatoa hotuba hapo kwa wanahabari wakisema kwamba wamejaribu zaidi kurekebisha yale ambayo yalikuwepo katika chaguzi za awali na kwamba uchaguzi huu wameufanya kwa njia nzuri kabisa na kwamba wameweza kushirikiana na washikadau wengine na kutoka kwao wanasema kwamba wamefanya kazi nzuri, lakini Julian hapo akisema kwamba kuna masuala ambayo wanahitaji kuyasema kwamba hawawezi kujumuika na wengine pale Bomas, lakini Faisal Abdulrahman ni Faisal Ahmed ambaye yuko Serena hivi sasa anaungana nasi kwa mengi zaidi. Faisal, kama unatusikia, hebu tueleze kwa nini makamishna hao hawaja kubali maswali na la msingi wamesema nini?
Naam, asante sana Mashirima, labda ungeweza kunikubalia niweze kuendelea kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Now the 4 IEBC commissioners just a few minutes ago concluded a press briefing that was also very brief, less than 5 minutes, explaining that the whole process, the whole 2022 general elections were conducted in a way that they feel was actually very good and above board. However, they're saying that there was some issues with the last tallying, that is for the presidential candidates, and that they are not comfortable being part of it, and that there were some opaque things that were happening in which they do not want to be a part of. However, they've refused to take our questions, and they insist that they're going to give a more detailed press briefing after this. So we're just waiting to hear more from them, but all indications are showing that there is a dispute or discord between the IEBC commissioners, because a few moments ago 4 of them were here addressing the media on the irregularities or opaqueness or opaque nature in which the presidential tally was actually conducted with. Now, from here, we're just going to see if they're going to give us that detailed brief or if we are going to actually go somewhere else and see what's happening. But so far, that is what we have here from Serena Hotel, and we just are keeping our eyes and ears open in case anything else pops up. Mashirima.
Ahmed hapo kutoka Serena akiwa anatueleza yale ambayo yamejiri katika mkahawa huo wa Serena, akisema kwamba makamishna hao 4 wamejitenga na matangazo ambayo tulikuwa tunatarajia kutoka kwa mwenyekiti wa IEBC Wafula Chebukati ambaye ni afisa mkuu wa uchaguzi wa urais. Makamishna hao wakiwa ni naibu wa IEBC Juliana Cherera, Julius Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi na Irene Masit.
Now, Sam and Titus, you saw the pictures coming out of Bomas. Last 6 days, it's been pretty calm and tranquil. And Wahiga, you were there yourself. You saw that for yourself.
I mean, there were isolated incidents here and there, but
right.
nothing close to what was...
Nothing close to what we've just seen in the last 30 minutes or so. And Chebukati had actually come down. He was on the dais, like you said, and then he disappeared back upstairs. 4 commissioners have taken off, saying they aren't going to go with the results of what they call the opaqueness of the election.
The last phase, specifically.
That's
what she kept emphasizing.
What's going on?
Jeff, to be honest, of course, without doubt, the situation has been complicated by the statement that has been read by the 4 commissioners from Serena. If they had not read the statement, probably one would say it would have been a bit easier to cascade along the legal provisions. But having come out very clearly, very unequivocally to state that they do not wish to be associated with the results that are going to be announced at Bomas, it really complicates the situation. Remember, this is something that we have never stared before in this country. So perhaps in as much as they have said that parties that dispute to it have a right to go to court, which of course is provided for in the Constitution. But the message that is strongly sent out there is that towards the tail end, the whole process has been compromised. And compromised in the basis that at this point, I suppose Chebukati is remaining with 3 commissioners. So it's 3 commissioners, two commissioners, two commissioners against 4. And I mean, in all strings of imagination, I wouldn't want to speculate, but how does it come to a point where 4 people are disputing against 2?
Bobby?
Nikiongezea Kiingereza mani
endelea tu kwende lugha ambayo wewe mwenyewe unaridhia.
Yale mwenzangu aliyosema ni kwamba hawa wanne.
Bobby, let me interrupt you for a second. I can see there William Ruto's mother being escorted. I don't know if it's to the dais or outside. Of course, she's been here as all this has been happening, and we certainly hope the authorities here will quickly restore peace and calm to this auditorium. It's very crucial because the declaration of the president-elect will be made here. So I think she's being escorted out.
Yeah, looks like out.
Probably the state of security there is not one that can be guaranteed, but it is very unfortunate what has transpired here. And I don't know to both my guests here whether the Constitution envisioned a situation where there's a split in the commission. I know 2017 wasn't easy either. You remember Roselyn Akombe, the then commissioner, left just before the fresh election on the 18th of October 2017. And thereafter, you know, there were a lot of questions about how the commission had been running, whether they'd been united as they moved forward, but somehow they were able to soldier and weather whatever storm they went through and give Kenyans a decision. But this time round, it seems that that will not be the case. What does the Constitution say about a split in the IBC, if that was ever a discussion, Bobby?
I wanted to give that dynamic in terms of the optics, that the four commissioners, if I'm not wrong, are the newly appointed commissioners, the ones who came into office
September 2021,
yeah,
I believe?
last year.
Yeah.
And so we're probably seeing that institutional, split. But we in terms of the constitutionality and legality of what was intended today, we have to remember that yes, the commission comprises, constitutionally of the chairperson and the commissioners. So there is the sense that the chairperson is an institution unto itself. And that's why when you look at Article 138(10) and why the chairperson is the national returning officer of the presidential election, it does give that onus on the chairperson. It doesn't say it is the commission that announces.
It does put the onus
on the chairperson, of the commission to declare the election, within 7 days after the presidential election. So as long as the chairperson does eventually give that announcement, then we move to the next step. But as he said, it definitely compromises the legitimacy of that announcement that the chairperson will give. However,
just hold that thought if you want for a moment, because we've got our own Francis Kashuri on the floor of the Bomas of Kenya right now, the Nerve Center. Francis Kashuri, if you can hear us, what is going on?
Check, mic check.
Mic check is fine, Kashuri. You can go on. What's going on? You're talking to the studio. Kashuri, if you can hear us.
Jeff, I can hear you. Good afternoon. Doesn't look like a very good one here at the Bomas of Kenya. What started as a very patriotic event, escalating into scenes of violence. And this began with a news conference outside the Bomas of Kenya, where the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate's chief agent in the presidential race, Saitabao Ole Kanchori, addressed the news conference and said that they were dissatisfied with the process, together with the other agents from the Azimio team, claiming that they had not been given access to the Form 34C. This is the form that tabulates all the presidential election results in the August 9th, 2022 presidential race. And as soon as Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairman, made his way to the auditorium to make a declaration of the election results, violence broke out. At the main podium, we could see Narok Senator-elect Ledama Ole Kina, together with Saitabao Ole Kanchori and other Azimio leaders who are expressing their dissatisfaction with the results that Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairman, was just about to announce insofar as the presidential election result is concerned. And so some pandemonium broke out. There were people who went to the main podium, tried to rough up the IEBC chairman. Some of the seats there were thrown away. The podium from which the IEBC chairman was to make the declaration was also roughed up, but eventually it has been reconstructed, and security now intensified. Even members of the family of the deputy president who are seated here at the auditorium, including his mother and the children, have been evacuated from the building to a safe space where the deputy president also was at the lounge where he was waiting together with other presidential candidates in the August 9th race, George Wajakoya of the Roots Party, and Agano Party is Wahiga Mwaure. Now, the question that remains to be responded to, Jeff, at this point is whether the results will be announced or not. We understand that the IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, is still within the precincts of the Bomas of Kenya, and security arrangements being made. We can see the religious leaders, among them Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit of the Anglican Church of Kenya, Archbishop Martin Kivuva Musonde of the Catholic Archdiocese of Mombasa, together with other members of the Interreligious Council, have made their way back to the auditorium. Security now intensified under the leadership of Noor Gabo. Noor Gabo is the Deputy Inspector General of Police, together with other senior police officers. A contingent of General Service Unit officers came in and restored calm. What we now wait to see is whether IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati will come back here and make the declaration insofar as the presidential election result is concerned. Remember, Jeff, also 4 commissioners of IEBC, Vice Chair Juliana Huonge Cherera, Commissioner Francis Wanderi, Commissioner Irene Cherop Masit, Justice Nyaya, went and addressed the conference in a hotel where the dispute results that are just about to be declared by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati, claiming that the process of valid verification here at the Bomas of Kenya was opaque and would not be part of the results that are just about to be announced. So tense moments here, Jeff. The choir, the NHIF choir, together with the Muungano choir, continues to build a patriotic song, maybe to pacify the situation and that has been building here as we wait for the next way forward insofar as the declaration of the presidential election results is concerned. Jeff, back to you.
You know what, Gashuri, we actually did get that press live from Julia Cherera and the other commissioners saying that they will not take ownership of the results that are about to be announced by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati. Well, you're looking at pictures right there. It looks like the religious leaders have returned, guys. It looks like Chebukati might be making his way back. He might still make that announcement that he said he would make this afternoon. What do you guys think?
Well, one good sign, hopefully, is I'm hoping there's no injuries. Some of the scenes we saw there earlier were simply horrifying, and I hope the authorities can quickly find out sort of who was involved in this. It's very unnecessary. I think we have shown as a country that there are ways to resolve disputes. We have courts that are on standby, and I think the Chief Justice had even given orders on the same. But it seems like there's a movement now, Jeff. Okay, Deputy President. Moses Wetangula, Mike Sonko, and others have now made their way in. I already said I've seen the Deputy President, William Ruto, leading that team there to take his position there. I think someone in the gallery didn't quite hear me a bit earlier on. And of course, the Kenya Kwanza UDA candidate. I guess, Jeff, we're now waiting for the 3 commissioners.
That's right.
Because they are the only ones. And it's only Wafula, actually. Article 138, subsection 10, right? It stipulates the chairperson of the IEBC shall announce the president-elect. And he's the national returning officer and the presidential returning officer as well. So as much as there are 7 commissioners, the task of reading the name of the president-elect is up to Wafula Chebukati as envisioned in the law.
It looks like everyone's standing right now, which is a sign, guys. It's a sign. Let's listen in. Let's listen in.
Amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
wakijitenga na lile ambalo wanasema ni tangazo litakalotolewa Bomas. Tunaona kwamba maafisa wa usalama wamerejesha hali ya utulivu katika ukumbi huo, mama mzazi wa naibu rais William Ruto akiondolewa katika ukumbi huo, lakini tayari tunaona pia viongozi wa dini wakiwa wamekaa hapo kwenye jukwaa pamoja na naibu wa rais William Ruto, mke wake Rachel na mgombea mwenza wake ambaye alikuwa mbunge wa Mathira
34C, which will then become the Form 34D that he'll hand over to the winner once he announces. And of course, there, Deputy President William Ruto, the UDA presidential candidate, who is also joined by his wife, Rachel Ruto. Let's listen in now.
This is the moment Kenya has been waiting for. The nation has been anxious, but we want to urge all Kenyans, let us now put our anxiety aside. The Bible says the end of a matter is better than the beginning. We want to urge the country to remain united. We have families to look after, an economy to grow, children who will go back to school. We want our nation back. Let us all pray together. Heavenly Father, here we stand before you as a nation of Kenya. We have always seen your hand of mercy, looking after us, watching after us. Even when we push ourselves to the brink, you always know how to lift us up. That in this room, that your will prevails, your presence overwhelms us, and this nation, oh God, will not go to the drain because you reign. This is our prayer in the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good evening. We have walked the journey of ensuring that Kenyans get a free, fair, and credible election. It's not been an easy journey. Right now, 2 of my commissioners and the CEO are injured. And they, of course, they are being treated. We have staff who have been profiled. There's a staff returning officer in Embakasi West who disappeared while on duty. We have staff who have been arbitrarily arrested for no reasons. We don't know where they are. Some from this National Tallying Center. But we have a constitutional duty to perform. And that's why I stand before you today, despite intimidation, harassment, I took an oath of office to serve this country. And I've done my duty in accordance with the Constitution and the laws of the land. And I feel proud that I've been given this opportunity to serve Kenyans. This, of course, will be my last election to preside over. And for those who will come, we have prepared for you what the Constitution envisaged from us, an independent electoral commission. So I just want to thank the staff of IBC, the soldiers who braved insults, harassment, and delivered right from the constituencies to the counties and up to the National Tallying Center. I want to thank stakeholders, state and non-state stakeholders who have worked with us on this journey, and more particularly the members of the diplomatic community and the religious leaders who have been keeping vigil at this center for the last 3 days. They have been here throughout, 24 hours a day. So Kenyans came out and voted on the 9th of August, and these are the results of what the will of the Kenyan people reflects. These results are in the public portal. The same results which I'm reading here are the ones in the public portal. So there were 4 presidential candidates. These are the aggregated results. Odinga Raila, total valid votes, 6,942,930. And this represents 48.85% of the votes garnered, and he achieved a number of counties the candidate attained with at least 25% of the total valid votes cast is 34 counties. Ruto William Samoei, number of valid votes, 7 million. Thank you. 7,176,141. This represents 50.49%. And he achieved the minimum number of 39 counties at 25%. Waihika David Maure, number of valid votes in figures 31,987. That represents 0.23%. Number of counties with a minimum of 25%, 0. Washakoya George Luchiri, 61,969. Those are valid votes. Percentage of votes cast 0.44%, and number of counties with a minimum of 25% attained, 0. So, in accordance with the law, the Constitution and the law, I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei of ID number 6847208 has been duly elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential election held on 9th of day of August 2022. And I'll proceed to sign the certificate. I invite the President-elect to come forward and receive his certificate.
Habari njema kwa Wakenya wote, tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka isiyoegemea upande wowote, inayodumisha demokrasi Kenya. Kura yako ni siku zako za usoni, chagua uongozi utajivunia. IEBC,
jihusishe na upige kura. Inaleta mabadiliko. Chagua uongozi ulio bora. Ewe mwananchi mzalendo.
And of course, the President-elect had a running mate. Rigathi Gachagua is the Deputy President-elect. Thank you. I invite the President-elect to make his remarks. And thank you, Kenyans, for having a peaceful election. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, and High Commissioners present, Your Lordships, the Bishops, and members of the clergy in the Republic of Kenya, my good Deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, distinguished members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, led by Chairman Wafula Chebukati, fellow countrymen and women, good evening. It is a wonderful evening, and I want to thank God that we are here this evening to witness this momentous occasion as the people of Kenya restate what is in Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, that all sovereign power belong to the people of Kenya. I want to thank God for getting us to this point. I want to thank God that today we have concluded this election. I know that there were predictions that I won't get to the ballot. There were predictions that we won't get here. But because there is a God in heaven, we are here. And I want to, in a very special way, say and confess that without God, we wouldn't have been here. My gratitude also goes to the people of Kenya, the millions who listened to us, the millions who participated in our campaigns peacefully, the millions who turned up to vote for us on 9th of August, and the millions who have waited patiently until this announcement has been made. Specifically, I want to thank my fellow countrymen and women because we have raised the bar in this election. Jointly, we have raised the bar. This election was much about the issues than the ethnic configurations that have always informed our elections. Gratitude goes to the millions of Kenyans who refused to be boxed into tribal cocoons. I am a very proud Kenyan this evening that the people of Kenya have raised the bar on us who are seeking leadership in our country. Not to sell our ethnicities, but to sell our programs, our manifestos, our agenda, and our plan. Let me also say right at the start that in here and in this election, there are no losers. The people of Kenya have won because we have raised the political bar. I want to say that the people of Kenya, led by the 14 million who turned up to vote, are the biggest winners. The hero of this election is the IEBC, led by Wafula Chebukati. I say this with conviction that the IEBC amazed all of us. With the results in the public portal, all the servers were open. And everybody, all you needed is a simple calculator, and you would have the results. I want to congratulate the IEBC for raising the bar. And I want to say, without fear of any contradiction, that one Wafula Chebukati is our hero. Soft-spoken, but firm. And I want to tell you, Mr. Chairman, we are very proud that without informing any one of us, you put all the results from all the polling stations on a public portal where any Kenyan could access. That became the game changer in this election. Let me also, at this point in time, thank our partners, the religious leaders, who were part of this process right from the beginning. For the first time, we saw religious leaders spend time at this Starling Center and prayed for this process. I am sure their prayers will not be in vain. I also want to thank our development partners, our diplomatic community, and all the observers who came in their thousands to be part and parcel of the process right from almost 2 weeks ago to its conclusion in this auditorium. To all of them, I tell them the people of Kenya are eternally grateful that you took your time, valuable time, to watch over this process so that the right thing can happen. I want to thank my worthy competitor, the Honorable Raila Odinga, for a campaign that we all dwelled on issues and we tried to sell an agenda to the people of Kenya. I want to promise that I will work with all elected leaders and all leaders in Kenya so that we can fashion a country that leaves nobody behind. What the people of Kenya have done, they have assigned us responsibilities. There will be those of us who will be in the executive, but there will be those of us who will oversee what we do in the executive. Both responsibilities in government and in the opposition are important for the people of Kenya. I want to promise the people of Kenya that I will run a transparent, open, democratic government. And I will work with the opposition to the extent that they provide oversight over my administration. Let me also, at this point in time, acknowledge my boss, the President of the Republic of Kenya. His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, who has worked with me over the last 10 years in various forms. And I want to commit to the people of Kenya that I will build on the foundation that President Kenyatta and I put together and take this country to the next level. I want to promise all the people of Kenya, whichever way they voted, that this will be their government. I know many are wondering, especially those who have done many things against us. I want to tell them that they have nothing to fear. There is no room. There is nothing. There is no room for vengeance. There is no room for looking back. We are looking into the future. I am acutely aware that our country is at a stage where we need all hands on deck to move it forward. We do not have the luxury to look back. We do not have the luxury to point fingers. We do not have the luxury to apportion blame. We must close ranks and work together for a functioning, democratic, prosperous Kenya. I want to thank the members of my team, starting with my wife and family, and many other prayer warriors in Kenya. And I want to confess that I have been prayed into victory. It is not our effort. And my team knows. We were working against the odds. many odds at that. But I must confess that it is God who brought us this victory. I do not want to mention the many people, many friends who have been part and parcel of this journey. Many people have paid huge sacrifices for us to get here. I want to promise them that their sacrifice will not be in vain. I and my team and I will work very hard to make sure that we don't let the sacrifices made by many Kenyans, we don't let them down. I am very confident that this country will come together and we can move forward as one united, democratic, and prosperous country. I want to ask our religious leaders from across Kenya to pray for us and to pray for the unity and prosperity of our country. I will not want to say more than that because I will be making other statements in the course of time. But let me say to all of you, thank you very much for being here this evening to witness this very historic, democratic occasion that moves our country to the next level. And let me thank my very able deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, for the sacrifice and the commitment he has demonstrated and the hard work he has put in, together with all our teams, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, JB Muturi, Mr. Mutua, Amazon Kingi, and all. Let me not go down that route because I will disappoint some people, because that list is very long, especially the men and women, members of parliament who were elected with us in Jubilee. And they have paid a heavy price for us to get here. Ladies and gentlemen, waheshimiwa, let me say, I owe you. You are great people. The sacrifices you made, withstanding the many incidences of blackmail and threats, I want to tell you, you have earned your place in the history of Kenya, because today we're going to form a government together to serve the people of Kenya. So with those many remarks, let me say to all the people of Kenya, I give you my word that I will work hard to make sure that this nation moves to the next level, is united and is prosperous. Asanteni sana.
Haki iwe ngao na mlinzi.
Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda, Kenya nchi tunayoipenda. Na ukipenda Kenya, ujitengane na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki
wavuga mukautariza vanhu chipi ndiwena vari kupa vanhu mari uko manje vamwe vakati chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera plus hamumbofanirwe kuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika kayedu nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda Vechidiki muripiko imi Vechidiki muripiko imi Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Andei tinoresta kuvota Wachamaru hausatozita 18 years rewe Saji urapoka karepo kutate nanoriza kuvota seko Iwo vara Dimira mangwana renyika Andei tinoresta kuvota Dimira mangwana renyika Andei tinoresta kuvota Kana tovota Mumwene mumwano potera batora anoda Kana tovota Mumwene mumwano potera batora anoda Ingava zanu Kana tripusi Kana MDC chirozo wadai Ingava zanu Kana tripusi Kana MDC chirozo wadai Avana nombokudzira Shamari unoza zaunoda sha Unovodira batora unoda yo Apana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa Chitupa chako neprova president Apana zvakamwanda zvinombodiwa Chitupa chako neprova president Kana uchigara mudhorobha Tora risiti yemagetsi Kana uchigara mudhorobha Tora risiti yemvura iwe Kana muchigara kumusha Nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku Kana muchigara kumusha Nyorerwa itsamba nemazabhuku Mapana memzada zunzo kutamba mane Mumozifambisa sekwem Saka mofunga kuti nyika yacho toigadzira sei muzere kuda kuvota Ane mani indai mani munorisa kuvota mani Chiko chinonetsa mungobvunza mumaraini mumo kuti registration center iri papi padhuze Mzata zokuti hamuna kunzwa kuti kune vamwe varitopiwa mari nokuti vaenda kunoregista kuvota Vavuka mukatarisa vanhu Chipi ndiwena vari kupa vanhu mari uko Manje vamwe vakati chiki chakati chokasirai because promotion yacho inoona kupera plus hamumbofanirwe kuwa mari because zvinhu zvitezvoti tigadzire nyika yedu tisu ramangwana renyika kayedu nguda urezeka iwe shamari uda vechidiki muripiko ine andei tinoresta kuvhota andei tinoresta kuvhota andei tinoresta kuvhota aiwe chamariu hausati wazita 18 years rewe sachiura pokagarepo Dimira mangwana renyika andei tinoresta kuvhota Dimira mangwana renyika andei tinoresta kuvhota Kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda Kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda
Kamboka tinopuwa na Mr. Cooksman and register to vote. Thank you Zimbabwe for taking time to spend with us here. What an afternoon. That's a beautiful end to the Kenyan story. William Somei Ruto has been officially declared the winner of the Kenyan elections. I know many of you would have preferred a different candidate, but democracy works like that.
Kana ushigara mudhuru torari city yemuraiwe kana mushigara kumusha torerwa isamba nemasa
mutambo anditikati tinotamba mutambo webhora nemitambo yakasiyana siyana dzimwe nguva unokwanisa kusahwina paunenge uchitamba mutambo wacho andika. It's a classic example of what elections are all about. They are winners and losers. Today we had William Ruto, the new president of Kenya. Now coming back to our Zimbabwe story, ladies and gentlemen, we're exactly 350 days to the next election in Zimbabwe. The next major election, the 2023 elections are coming up in exactly 350 days today. Please play your part. We've just witnessed the beautiful story of Kenya there. They had a very peaceful and also very transparent election. There's still a lot for us to learn in terms of how we conduct elections in Zimbabwe. But I just want to leave you with these short words, Zimbabwe. It is possible. Aditika, Gati, let's not lose hope. Let's make sure we are all registered to vote. Kana une hama, ku diaspora. Kana une hama. Kana shamwari dziri Zimbabwe Aditika, encourage them to register to vote. Kana une hama dziri Zimbabwe, in case you're also in Zimbabwe and you're listening to this, and you want to change things in Zimbabwe. We've just witnessed how they've, I don't know whether things have changed in Kenya, but we have definitely a new president, William Somei Ruto, the new president of Kenya. Congratulations to Mr. Ruto. What an election. And it's an example for Africa that's a blueprint that has been set for the rest of the continent. So what we are praying for as Zimbabweans is, as we inch closer to the 2023 elections, play your part. Aditika, register to vote Zimbabwe. A non-partisan group is encouraging you to make a pledge. But for now, we'll leave you with these words. It's very possible. You can change things also in Zimbabwe. I don't know whether in Kenya they managed to actually change things, but we kind of had a peaceful and at least a transparent election. Thank you, Zimbabwean. God bless you. Keep praying for your country. Until then, bye for now.
Tinoresta kuvhota Dimira mangwana renyika andei tinoresta kuvhota Kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda Kana tovhota mumwe nemumwe anovhotera bato raanoda Ingava ZANU kana Triple-C kana MDC chero zvawadai Ingava ZANU kana Triple-C kana MDC chero zvawadai Havana nombokudzira shamari unoza zvaunoda sha unovhotera bato raunoda Hapana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence Hapana zvakawanda zvinombodiwa chitupa chako neproof of residence Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemagetsi Kana uchigara mudhorobha tora risiti yemuraiwe Kana muchigara